Welcome back to the most professional StarCraft 2 with the greatest player of all time, the Zerg in the blue, the finisher. It's Serral. Facing off against the loose cannon, the Protoss in the red, we have Zoun. In a best of 5 Protoss versus Zerg showdown. And whether you're rooting for the best of us or the best of the rest of us, it'd be amazing. Before we get started, you could smash that like button. And maybe even subscribe. Help me count the algorithm. And Jimmy, what are we at? 1,675 likes on this video, on this cast, and I'll cast another one. And I'll probably do it anyways, because I don't know what else I'd do with my life. But thank you for watching. Hopefully, you've had a good day so far. And hopefully it's about to get just a little bit better. As Serral forced to take his third base, as for the better part of the last 15 years... Better part of the last 15 years, if a probe intends it, you're going to be forced to take that third. The delay to the early Zerg economy simply isn't worth it. You can bring down a second drone, but then they just slap a pylon out of their metaphysical backpack and continue to make things more difficult. So the probe will steal away 5 minerals, steal away any sort of semblance of stability in the Zerg's life in the early game, and steal away just a little bit of my respect. But a Stargate, of course, coming up behind it. The Oracle is the key that unlocks pretty much every part of the Protoss build. For better or worse, it all hinges on the ability to defend against any sort of ground-based attack that doesn't involve queens just tiptoeing their way across. Stoically marching, sorry. As Zerg quite lacking in the anti-air department, especially far away from those hatcheries. And now you see exploiting that lack of creep, that lack of defense. The weak point glaring between the natural, well, the main base and the third. And Zoun going to try to work it for whatever it's worth, but already some Zerglings in position. Speed done in 2, in 1, and he shades away at the last moment. One of those adepts has to be careful not to step on a Lego the way across the map. And not sure how it would end up there, but you never know. I mean, you can kind of know, but... Second gate, walling off the nice solid wall. And even using the little pylon indicator. Oh my. If I had brownie points to give, well, they would kind of go to waste on a Protoss, which doesn't have a mouth, but I think brownie points are a metaphor anyways. Oracle slaps a revelation, lights up a creep tumor, but unfortunately, not going to be able to slow it down very much. Didn't even use the energy recharge ability to slap 100 more energy and turn that Oracle into, well, effectively like 3 Oracles. Because if you have 100 more energy, then you have enough to use Revelation and burn out the creep tumors yourself. So, essentially 3 jobs for the price of 1. Adepts clearing out Zerglings. Serral sitting back, Roach Warren on the way. A defensive one. We're 4.5 minutes in. Just making sure the off chance, but certainly not 0, of glaive adepts is covered. Occasionally charge lots, and almost certainly blink stalkers. As the blink stalkers, they are the choice. And he's telegraphing it pretty obvious here. Obviously with the 2 gases at the natural. Overlord hanging out by the river. Didn't bring its swim trunks, but doesn't seem very relevant because, you know, it's Overlord. They're halfway there. And Serral just covering all his bases, literally and figuratively so far. Couple Zerglings and an unlucky Overlord been taken down. A drone incinerated by the Oracles, but for the most part... Ooh. The Queens will politely yet firmly drive those Oracles away. 2 drones dead. The obligatory drive-by into taking a bunch of hull damage and killing a couple drones. And it's not like Serral... Well, now he's got a dozen drones in production. Just finished them up. It's not like he has a booming economy. He cut some of his early economy in order to make sure he had this solid, stable early defense. So that way, once he stabilizes, before Blink and +1 are completed... And even before Lair Tech is online, there's that opportunity to borrow an Age of Empires, or just, I guess, economic term, to boom. All right, a booming economy is the key to mid to late game Zerg. Having that overwhelming amount of, in this case, Hydras and Lings, to make sure the Blink Stalkers can't even be remotely cost effective. A 4th base is a difficult endeavor, and everything past that has to go up against a tide of Zerg that never seems to go out. That's where Serral is now, but Zoun has already caught up. 66 workers apiece. He's got the robotics facility done. A Templar Archives completed. Psionic Storm Psionic Storm. Oracle comes in. Has begun. That, most dangerous of spells, and probably the most important one, past the early blink. I guess technically Warp Gate, but that's almost implied. Zerglings just actually take out one of the gateways charge. He even lets Zoun know he hasn't started charge, only realizing it after warping into Zealots. This is Serral just kind of keeping tabs on things. Anything he delays is nice, but also kind of unnecessary. Oh, wow. Is he doing the Overseer Storm Contaminate timing? We got to come up with something better than that. But 2 Overseers with not quite enough energy for Contaminate. It costs 125, so it's not the quickest thing. But if he can delay any of the upgrades, especially Storm, wow. Serral, one of the abilities that pretty much only silver players and YouTube commenters, but that's a circular Venn diagram, actually think about. But Serral has been using it to medium effect. The real issue is you simply don't have enough energy quickly enough. Even if you build an Overseer the moment that your lair finishes, it's usually not quick enough in order to stop Storm. But it might be quick enough in order to stop +2. We saw a couple Storms take out some Zerglings over by the 4th base, but Serral is lining this up. He might have even been able to delay charge. There's a fleet beacon on the way for Zoun, but Serral with 78 drones is already pumping out units. Knocks out, I believe, an Observer? Yes. Almost a no-rush 10-minute situation, as both sides have been building up. The tension has clearly mounted, but so far, no direct engagements. Serral's tried to delay things, but the Templar are on the field. Tempest in production overhead. Lurkers tucked into a corner, and the barrage will begin. I'm not sure. Oh, he wants to delay the Tempest, which is actually, it makes even more sense here. Overlord speed is done. Slaps a Contaminate. Stop right there. Quick inspection. 20 seconds of delay on the first Tempest, and that will be enough time for Serral to execute his first attack. A Tempest would not stop this on its own, but it would certainly help, as there's almost no anti-air. The Hydra's completely unreliable, but a Stasis catches a huge chunk of the Lings to start things off. And with Templar in tow, and Revelations to potentially pick off the Lurkers, those Storms starting to land. Lurkers moving up. Those Zerglings and Stasis are a bit of a quandary for both sides, as it makes it very difficult for Zoun to get the surround here. But Serral, the Zerglings unleashed, Oracle 1 taken out, but the second one, oh, actually targets the Hydra, eventually gets it. Templar trying to come up, Serral laying on the pressure, but Oracle is just burninating across and through the countryside right now. The Tempests are finally out. The Contaminate's delaying them and allowing Serral to execute this push. If the Tempests were shelling, you would have had to retreat a while ago. But I have to say, despite the inspired tactics and the technical delay, Zoun held his ground. And now it's Serral who's going to Pound Town. Or, Jimmy, edit that out. Lurkers diving deep in towards the 4th base, where Zoun not nearly as prepared. Just 3 Lurkers, but range is complete. 4 now. Does he have any other detection? 1 Oracle for Revelation, the most reliable by far, but it's on the other side. Oh, where are the Observers? Serral keeping the Overseers alive. More Lurkers diving down, and Zoun still maintains his supply, but the Nexus itself is under heavy fire, being eviscerated by the Lurkers. Archons wandering up, keeping units from going directly into the Lurker spines is an effort in and of itself. Zoun losing track of some of his Tempest, loses a couple, or almost loses a couple. 14 probes dead. 4th base is gone. Charge slots. Brenda, no! Oh, it was just Karen. All right, things will be much quieter from here on out. Don't be rude, Brenda. It's not rude, it's honest. I don't have time for that. Sorry, I might go for that Lurker. Racking up the kills. 15 probes dead, and Serral? He holds on to his economy back at home. Zoun, bent but not broken. He maintained. So the hardest part for Zerg of these sort of games is dealing with the air deathball. It's not destroying bases. It's not even destroying the economy. it's eventually directly dealing with the Tempest. It looks like Serral is now intending to do so. He's got a Spire on the way. 5 Dropper Lords in production. Operation Overlord can storm the beaches of the main base, or really anywhere else, and potentially split the difference. Well, Serral is clearly angling for that big Corruptor knockout blow. The mothership is completed. A very important piece, and the largest one of the puzzle. Who do you think they modeled it after? But Hydra Lunge is on the way. Another stasis in position. A single Zergling is caught and protected from the dangers of everything that'll be coming down to deal with this, but this is clearly a distraction. Zoun still has to respect it. He has to deal with it, but this is very much not Serral's main army. A single Adept is scouting. Observers will see the main army head toward the 4th. The mothership helps to take out the lurkers with ease. But this decoy attack for now. A lurker drop is headed into the main. Bit of a nostalgic strategy. 5 Tempests are looking to respond to it. He actually missed the mark a bit. The lurkers should be able to drop out. He pops them both out. Are they still in detection range? I believe so. We'll get obliterated easily. But Zoun, staying back at home, forced to defend constantly, while Serral's on 86 drones, 10 more lurkers on the way. His economy maintained. The Serral stonks are going upwards as the income far outstrips that of his Protoss counterpart, who's struggling to mine off of 3, let alone 4 bases. 1 carrier in production. But again, Zoun has the army supply lead. Actually, more army supply than Serral can even get without some crazy spore crawler tricks or something like that. He's done a great job of holding the line for now. Zerglings saved from storm by stasis. Charge lots cut through by the lurkers up to the left flank. But Serral's main thrust, well, he can thrust in multiple places at once, as evidenced here. The 4th base, under fire by the lurkers. The 3rd is defended by the mothership and the Tempest, but it's a no-win scenario. Serral has not committed enough army on either side that even if Zoun crushes it, it's going to matter. And again, the 4th base will be ripped apart by the lurkers. Neural Parasite and +1 flyer attack in production. Serral now has the problem of suffering from success. He needs Corruptors, but Zoun didn't actually really kill any of his units. So he's maxed out, and he can't build Corruptors. Zoun, I think Serral's throwing away Zerglings in order to build some more anti-air. The probes! The economy is shattered. 34 probes in the last minute. The main base, lurkers cutting through the production line in every sense of the word. The base will be saved by the mothership with active cloaking. But at what cost? And into the main, he recalls back, and the Templar are shredded. Oh no! He fell on Serral's sword, and he actually recalled into it. What a disaster! Serral set him up for failure, and Zoun hook, line, and sinker. I have not seen this Protoss army be dismantled so concisely and clearly. Probably since the last time I saw Serral play, but Zoun built the deathball, and he still has many parts of it. But Serral just pulled it apart like a Laffy Taffy that you put in the microwave or something. That sounds like a bad idea. I don't know if Laffy Taffies are actually that strict. They're really not. That's not really like a rubber band. And that band can only bend so far before it breaks. That's a little better. More profound. Like and subscribe. The Tempests are shelling. Serral has no Corruptors, so no direct response to those Zealots. Lunges forward with some Hydras. Doesn't even pick off one, but Zoun does not have the luxury of time. It's at this time, I must remind you, that in order to win a game of StarCraft 2, you must destroy all your opponent's buildings, which is actually a serious risk of happening right now. As Serral is ripping through the entire base, Zoun going pretty quickly himself on Serral's, but he's going to meet some resistance, whereas Serral, there's almost nothing. Oh my, the probes annihilated by the lurkers. There's still so many lurkers back at home. Serral's maxed out. Zoun with no choice but to go forward, as he has no home to go back to. Once he loses the main nexus, Serral may actually just outright eliminate him from the game. What am I watching? Serral transferring to the top right corner. a Nexus being built, the drone strike could finish the game. This is actually... He's only got 4 buildings, 3 build... Wow. And the army has had it down. How often do we see a game go to actual elimination? Zoun still has... He has 0 probes. That last Nexus... That's it. With the last Nexus being ripped apart by Zerglings, Serral claims victory by effectively elimination. He never even killed the Tempest, but he killed all the buildings, which is somehow easier. Wow. A comprehensive masterclass, like advanced graduate level beatdown by Serral. He's throwing the book at him until he bleeds and then not letting up. Wow. And Zoun had the army he held. It was not a bad defense, but it certainly wasn't good enough. He just never was able to take the initiative until it was already too late. The time for chilling had passed. Serral with a decisive victory in game 1. More one-sided than a Mobius strip. Unable to get anything done. Zoun. Well, things certainly escalated with the recall into the main. That is when things... I think he assumed he had some sort of detection and observer, but it was a desperation move. We see so many times Protoss baited into those recalls. And many times you can just clean it up, but the Lurker's well positioned. He never gives you a large enough target. Alright? Serral with 5, 6 Lurkers and a dozen Lings over here. 8 Lurkers and some Hydras over there. By the time you dislodge one prong, there's another one stabbing you in the other side. And what gets me is how clear it is. Like, it isn't some flashy soup. There's obviously a ton of micro happening. But Serral, one of the most strategic players, thinking about 2, 3 steps from now, and the contingencies, the flow chart of possibilities. At some point, Zoun was going to base trade. And Serral was already set up to fight the army. He already had upgrades for his flyer attack. He already had neural parasite done for infestors. So he had fallback options. But outright eliminating your opponent from the game kind of circumvents the need for him. So, let's see if Zoun can hold it together, or pull it together, rather, in game 2. The interesting one there is how much aggression he was able to keep on without a Nidus, without spellcasters. No Vipers, no Infestors. I think, therefore I am, but also Zoun didn't really put any pressure on with the Blink Stalkers. A lot of the times you see this kind of back and forth with Blink, while the Protoss is getting a 4th base. And if the Zerg is too greedy, that's when they can start taking some damage and lose the initiative. But Zoun didn't really put any pressure on there, and the Zerg out of control. And don't forget the Contaminate. Actually using Contaminate in an effective fashion. And while it didn't alter the game outright, it like deflected the asteroid trajectory. The Contaminate on the Tempest is what stopped the Tempest asteroid from hitting the hatcheries. It didn't need to be much, but enough to take the initiative and keep it the rest of the game. I guess there are a lot of good options, even if you have to wait, even if you're not going to delay Storm. Delaying Tempest, delaying basic upgrades like +2 attack is certainly worth it, so... Third Nexus. Before 4 minutes. Definitely not slow. One Oracle. Interesting not using energy recharge on the first Oracle, but use it on the second. Usually that first Oracle gets the all the prizes. The firstborn, which the Protoss like to brag about, but then why do they make a second one? I'm just saying. Like, yeah, you're right. All right, they say they're the firstborn, but we corrected all the mistakes. Brenda, not. I'm just saying. Some of us are diamond. Some of us, as a race, are mess. Brenda. Sorry, I am. It was a different time. Twilight and Forge Lair on the way. Oracle tag team. Looking to incinerate whatever it can. But the queens... Sir, this is restricted lair space. Brenda, it's not even a lair yet. Yeah, we're working on it, though. So, why are you talking to the Protoss? Why are you talking so much? Well, I like to talk. Is that a crime? Is that a crime? I thought this was char. Slow news day. Evolution chamber. A little bit on the later side. Serral not doing the +1 melee build that many Zergs have been favoring in order to lean on that aggression. Still going for the later +1 ranged attack and leaning on those Hydras and Lurkers. Speaking of, Hydraless Den is on the way. Templar Archives, right alongside Blanket +1. Yeah, not really intending on putting any pressure. The Oracle. Did he get any drones? One drone. One drone. So far. Oracle's with a full revelation. Didn't actually see the Hydralus Den. So... well, it's almost implied. There's a small chance of mutas, but... not so... occasionally, even Serral will break them out in this matchup, but... their strongest element is surprise. Really? Yeah, my life for ire. Hey, guys. Do you guys also charge a lot? Spotting extra gateways. Lurker Den's already on the way, right around the infestation pit, and the hive begins. Serral with a 7-minute hive. 82 drones. This is another build order simulator game. And I can't help but think that that's a mistake for you. There have been almost no changes to last game. It's a very similar split. With Storm on the way, there is a War Prism in production. War Prism almost always indicating some aggressive intentions. Hops one of the observers. No looking. There's a stasis gonna delay the 5th base, which is moderately annoying. But Serral looking to get aggressive. So, a pre-lurker army. He did finish the lurker den, and the hive's almost done. Serral not gonna try to smash down the door when he could potentially slice through it in just a few moments. Already Overlord speed on the way. I have my suspicions. Everything is just so much utility for Serral. The Overlord speed for getting the Overseers in, and potentially Overlord drops later. Like, what's not to love? Four lurkers. Zoun with some Archons already mixed in. Lurker range. Another almost a big game hunters, no rush 10-minute style. 1-1, the upgrades. Zoun just going. Almost a random feeling attack time. He's got the Prism, he's got 1-1 done. The Lurker range is not there. There are only 5 Lurkers, which is not An untenable number. The Oracle, there's still one Oracle. The other one was taken down at some point. Charge lots over to the left side. There's nothing in defense. If Lurker range is done, this gets a lot more complicated for Zoun to deal with. But the charge lots are forcing things out of position. Serral on the back foot for now. And going forward, Revelation. Huge storms across the front line. The Templar, another wave. Most of them taken out, but the Lurkers are cut from beneath the field. And the creep is, well, helping him close it again. Zoun with a convoluted fight. A few Lurkers survived. One of them helping to take out even more of the Stalkers. An optimistic Warpin actually going to complete it. Chases down some of the Hydralisks. Zoun retains the initiative. He actually manages to clean up most of the Lurkers and stay on the attack without getting outright crushed. But the supply, if you look at it, not incredibly great for the Korean Protoss. He does now start a fleet beacon back at home, but Serral, nothing about that attack is going to change Serral's trajectory. He's like, oh, so I'll go Hydras and Lurkers. Where before I was going Hydras and also Lurkers. So no reason to switch it up when Lurkers are possibly the best anti-gateway unit he can build. Changelings, don't talk to me or my proto-clone ever again. Also, don't talk at all, we're changelings. Why are you hiding? I'm ugly. Yeah, you are. Hey, boys. The secondary attack. Well, whichever attack is less defended becomes the main attack. But Lurkers on the left, Lurkers on the right. And an Adept stuck in the middle with you. A few charge lots force the right flank back. That means Zoun can focus his efforts on the left side. Immortal and Archon's really blasting through the Lurkers. Gets 3 of them. Loses the Archon, though, and Serral's going right back forward. Tempest is out, but not enough to deter this for now. The Storm's trying to thin out the Zerglings, but they're not the main threat. Coming in again, the Templar, the Capes ripped apart. You know how expensive those are? Why do you think they cost so much Vespene gas? Another wave of storms. The Zerglings thinned out, but not cut down. The Lurkers slicing through, and again, Zoun falling on both sides under such heavy pressure he's beginning to break. Serral up 70 supply, 20 probes dead. Spire is on the way. He's able to chase down the remnants of the attack on the left flank. And he might be able to carry that through, but Serral's threatening the infrastructure itself. The main base, +1 flyer attack is 12 seconds out. It may never see the light of day. 2, 1. It finishes a moment before the Lurker spines go right through it. But again, the army is just being picked apart. And this time around, it's not so much a base trade scenario as Serral just slicing pieces of Zoun off. The Tempests are targeting the Lurkers. The Hydra's not quite in range, but even more probes are going to die. He's already on top of the Nexus. Collateral damage is welcomed. Ground weapons level 2 about to complete for Zoun, but Serral just has already sliced out the core of his economy. Again, the army supplies are nearly equal. This is a very dangerous army from Zoun, but he doesn't have a mothership. He doesn't have that many Immortals or Archons. 1. The least he could possibly have, while still having them. Some Zerglings run by. They find an opportunity. They always do. Does he have adrenal glands? No, but Serral using these Zerglings is just almost like a plot device to further his position. But Zoun striking back. Some of the Tempests are cut off by the Hydras in the midfield. One actually taken down. Charge lot. Citizens arrested by the drones. And things getting more and more difficult. 10 Corruptors on the way. Serral willing to engage this head on. Hydra's still just sharking around. There's no fourth base. He knows Zoun is all sorts of in right now. He's going to put a timer on the base trade. Adrenal glance begins. Lunges forward. Rips down the wall. Mr. Zergachev, tear it down. Recalls back some storms and going to try to outflank this. But Serral has 88 drones, full 4-base saturation behind it. The income, well, it looks like their prize winning split as well, but Serral again. He's not dead. But can you call this living? There's a chance. This is a Protoss army full of storm against not an entirely dedicated Zerg anti-air. Though Corruptors are already up. +1 flyer attack is done. There is one Oracle. Trying to line up some shots. The Oracle queues up a Revelation. Charge lots, get a few drones. But the Corruptors are swinging in, trying to bait out some storms. Somehow one charge lot made it into the main, and the Queens had their way with it. They killed it, to be clear. Sorry. War Prism with 2 Archons knocked out. Zoun desperately try to take a 4th base, whereas Serral is banking on a 5th. Charge. No cancel. That will be quite a blip in the pocketbook there for Serral. Just sitting back and beating this army outright is Serral demonstrating difficult. But Zoun is in a prolonged death animation now. Serral would have to make quite an uncharacteristic set of mistakes to be dislodged from this game. As the 4th base again will go down at relatively minimal cost. The fact that Zoun has lost more resources. The Corruptors go straight over the top of the Archons, pre-splitting. He has to storm his own Tempests. A maelstrom of destruction. And the Tempests are taken down with 3 Corruptors to spare. Huge charge lock counter. Going to find some success back at home. Serral with exactly enough Corruptors to take out the Tempest. That's exactly what you want. As having too many is a liability on the ground. The charge lot's desperate to get something done. He may spend 800 minerals here in order...
What a save!
Serral defends the hatch. Zoun unwilling to fight it further. I guess realistically so. Taps out. GG. Another dismantling. Zoun fighting on multiple fronts, unable to find any sort of real success on any of them. A desperate sort of scenario. Serral, leave some for the rest of us. Alright? Next patch. Lurkers have half HP, and they have to spend 10 minerals per attack. Right, Serral's still going to win with the banks that he builds up, but match point. Going into game 3 on the most Protoss map. Pylon. Not necessarily Protoss favorite, but has some... I don't know if you can actually see them. I swear there are pylons back there. I think there has to be an overlord or something to actually see them. Pylons in their natural habitat. Random places on the map. Or blocking the Zerg's naturally. Of course. I don't... You can't let him get that far. If Serral is allowed to execute his game plan for 8 minutes, I feel like that's a strategic mistake on your part. I don't care if you're a great macro player, if you think you have one of the best late games. You need to do something. You must stop him. Otherwise, it might take a while, but there's very little hope for you. Zoun tried to put together that gateway timing, which mixed success, so it did damage, but it delayed his late game tech. So if you're trading that late game army for a mediocre timing, that's also difficult. But this is usually why the Blink Stalker regression is more common. I think Zoun is just giving Serral too much respect. Is that possible? I say as the most Zerg biased / Serral biased caster on this channel. Well, I don't know. Pretty sure Serral could defend Blink Stalkers with 2 slow Zerglings and a box of scraps. Okay, but worth a shot. Zerglings nibbling on the probe. Coupling gonna sneak by. Serral intentionally avoiding with all of them. And just gets into the main. The probes. They don't want any of that. One of them gonna get nibbled at the natural. Adept. 1 drone. Gets away. Spots the 3rd base. The probes on the chase. 2nd Adept will eventually clean it up. And Serral actually had 24 drones. When you go for the extra lings early, as well as getting delayed on your 2nd base, the drone count suffers. It's difficult. That is why the tightrope walk of exactly how many drones and lings to build and when to build them is the most mundane, important thing. Okay, it's like taxes. If you, well, as an American, to be clear, if you do it right, fine. If you do it wrong, it's very bad. Okay, and there's no one to tell you if it's right or wrong, just people to give you suggestions, and then you just kind of make it up from there. At least is my impression as according to my boss, who was also me. But avoid Ray on the way. So what I'm trying to say is picking exactly how many lings to build and drones and timing and queens is the most important, boring detail in the game. And would be kind of horrible for me to just sit there staring at and cast. But I do try to go back and actually watch how Serral does it in order to try to replicate it in my games, and then I just disappoint myself. Speaking of disappointing, is it time for the glaives of the day? Where is that Twilight Council? Charge! Ah, yes. The obligatory charge lot timing. A single gas geyser. A void ray. Already suspicious in and of itself. Serral with a roach warren, possibly suspecting things. But the void ray is already with those beautiful energy bridges. Those are not natural formations. Though they are. What if you could turn them off? Okay, Terran's just salivating. Simple machines are our speciality. Also repairing our units, not it? Eight gate charge loss. All sorts of in. Serral, you are not well. If he makes any more drones. Aspire. You are not prepared. Feel the hatred of 10,000 years, or however long the zealots. Protoss are like 1,000 years old, which is a lot of time to build up resentment. Then again, for a plant, which Protoss are, thus solarite, it might not be. Trees live a long time, right? But trees with side blades? Seems like a bit of a conundrum. Anyways, charge lots. Charging across the map. Serral building some roaches, but he's been fully bamboozled. It's a disaster. Brenda, run! Call everyone! Susan, Edna, Lucille! Yes, even Karen. I know. I don't... The charge lot sprinting in, and there's only a few roaches. No roach speed. The queens have to hold the brunt of it. Stasis traps a bunch of the reinforcements and a couple queens. The void ray helping out dramatically at burning through the roaches. And now a warp prism to add on to things. Zoun. Well, I said he had to do something early. He pulled it out of the great book of Protoss cheese, which I assume is just like a comic book, or maybe like a flip one, or possibly some finger paintings on papyrus. But 19 drones dead. Serral now at a disadvantage, and the fact that the charge slots just keep warping in. Another queen cut down. The roach is struggling to deal with the tide of zealots. Serral caught off guard. The void ray adding so much damage. It's a disaster. And it's finally a success. Zoun is on the board. He can bleed. He sold it well. I think Serral had his suspicions about, well, clearly not charge lots. He got the roaches, he wasn't sure. Maybe glaives. Glaives are the usual choice of many people who, or many players, many players who try to sneak one over, especially on Serral, but in Protoss versus Zerg in general. But no. Just a good old charge lot timing, incredibly well executed. Zoun sold it really well, and Serral bought it. 2-1. So, I can't even be upset. That's exactly what I said was needed. All right, I'm right. I was right. But at the same time, there's the part of me that's like, jeez, Protoss bullshit. But that's why we play more than best of ones, with barcodes on the ladder. Tokamak. So, probably wouldn't have his eyes wide open. Temba, his arms wide. Alongside Darmok and Jalad at the third base. So what do you do there? Well, one, you don't build a spire. It's so clear that he got completely bamboozled. The spire was also one of the follow-ups to going for roaches at all. Like, if you go for roach aggression and they end up trying to counter it, then they're more focused on anti-ground. So a spire might be able to swing in and win the game. Serral? There was a time when Serral would literally just do the same thing every time, but I think he gets conflated with players like Innovation, who, somewhat ironically, was the opposite and pretty much did the same build every single game. So, beautiful name in that. But Serral will cheese. But he's got that little calculation going on of whatever the highest percentage play is. He's definitely done some of the spiciest cheeses before. It's just when he does it, it doesn't look like a cheese. It looks genius. The thing is, for Zerg nowadays, the highest percentage play is almost always just playing this mid to late game style, where you try to get a huge economic advantage right around the first time everyone hits 200 supply. Because that is when you can leverage your production and your units still can kill anything. Once you kind of get to this late game, end game turtle mode, where both players have money in the bank, there's dozens of cannons and storm behind them, that's when sometimes it doesn't matter how many units you build, because it's almost impossible to build the army to actually dismantle them. But lost my train of thought, completely derailed. But right as the economy kicks in on 4 bases or so, you're still mining from your main, like lurkers, and, well, pretty much what Serral did for 2 games this series. That is what Zergs focus on much of the time. Overwhelming the Protoss before energy recharge pumps out too many storms, before the Tempest and the Mothership become a deathball with too much momentum. That is the weak point for Protoss, at least that many Zergs focus on at the moment. Another Void Ray. Adept just clawed apart, ripped to shreds, I say, by the Zerglings. Void Ray first? Yes, Void Ray first. Overlord, taken out. But knowing about the Void Ray at all is more than half the battle. The other parts are obviously the battle, but realizing it's a Void Ray first, and I like what Zoun's doing. He's trying to keep that ambiguous situation where Serral, well, we saw the Void Ray last time. The Void Ray is innately suspicious because it doesn't have as much potential. It's way more expensive than an Oracle, and in the grand scheme, it's Tempest Rush. In the grand scheme of things, it is not nearly as effective. Doesn't have nearly as much utility. Less bang for more buck. But your mother's worth it. But now a fleet beacon is on the way behind. A rush up to tier 3 in the Tempest. The exact opposite direction of last game. Zoun going to try to climb the tech tree like a bamboo shoot and bank on the fact that Serral was bamboozled by the charged lots and may cut into his own economy in order to defend against something that simply doesn't exist. You'll see if Serral is able to get that info. What does he see? He sees the 3rd. There's a chrono boost on the probes, which might be a slight giveaway. What? A carrier? It's always a Tempest nowadays, though. A carrier? A carriers? Wow. Crazy. Spire's on the way. Did he just see the gap? No, but the fact that nothing's moving out now. So it's 66 drones, full 3-base saturation, max economy on those 3 bases. The Spire, you know, now I'm thinking about it. The Spire also, as a backstop for a Tempest Rush or a Carrier Rush, he's literally covering all his bases. If it's charge lots or adepts and he defends with roaches, he can go mutas. If it's a rush to carriers, he can go corruptors. Serral, 14 steps ahead, playing 7D Parcheesi out here. Yes, including the smells. Susan, can I say something? No. Can I say something? Do not get us demonetized. Never mind. Oracle survives to come home. The carriers have arrived, and they have yet to be revealed. He's just massing carriers. Serral already has a Spire done with money in the bank. Look at it. He's really... look at how much money he has in the bank. I think he spotted it. He's pre-building corruptors. Oh, he figured it out. He didn't need to see the carriers. He saw the gases, the lack of aggression. He knows. The corruptors will be fully available. Get off my creep, you bitch! Cease, Brenda, this is why! This is why! God! Ah! Sorry. Alright. I'm blacked out for a moment. Templar Archives. Zoun doesn't know that Serral knows that Zoun is doing this. Wow. He read him like a particularly cheesy book. Gross, but... How does... It's still a big call to make, to build corruptors by... And we're walking! Yes! Marching, I'm sorry. And the corruptors are here. Serral. Bringing the queens. The corruptors overhead. Zoun was straight to mass carrier. What a counter, though. And we've arrived! The carrier is going to be knocked out of the sky. Without Storm, the critical mass of corruptors is far too much for the carriers. The queens providing the anti-air and healing support, and emotional as well, some might argue. And this... It's over. Somehow this was more impressive. He figured it out. The lack of information is information in and of itself. It's still a big call to blindly make corruptors. He may have caught a glimpse of a carrier, but he was clearly suspecting it. I think he suspected Tempest, not carriers. But the answer was the same, and Zoun was not asking strong enough questions. Serral, with a comprehensive, decisive, inspiring, and concerning 3-1 victory. Wow. He's done it again. Zoun has been looking pretty hot lately. One of our few players who finished their military service and came back to the game, still finding success, but obviously not hot enough. Fine, a little too close to the sun there. Serral just... Well, hopefully you enjoyed as much as I did. And if you got the means and motivation, it'd be awesome to check out Patreon or YouTube membership. But if you're liking and subscribing, it's still free. At least for now. So thank you to our mule patrons for bringing in the extra minerals. Big Jig, Devin Door, Kate, Mario, Random Guy, and Suit, and everyone. Glad you still enjoy. I hope I made your day just a little bit better. Hope to see you next time. Thank you for watching. Good luck. Have fun. Stay chill.